So let's jump to the present time where this prince is ruling.
Así que hablamos ahora del tiempo presente donde está gobernando este príncipe.
There's a totally different parliament ruling today.
Obviamente hay un parlamento totalmente diferente ahora que gobierna en Inglaterra.
And the prime minister of that parliament is?
Y el primer ministro de ese parlamento es,
Well, currently it's Gordon Brown.
bueno, en las fechas corrientes se llama Gordon Brown.
What is he committed to do? What does it say here?
¿Y qué él quiere hacer? ¿Qué ha dicho ahí?
He's committed to ending the anomaly of royal ban on Catholics.
Él quiere lograr que se acabe ya esta prohibición real para que alguien se ree sobre los católicos.
So the battle over England has been won by none other than the papacy.
Así que la batalla sobre Inglaterra ha sido vencido por nadie más que el papado.
And secretly,
Y de manera secreta.
these kings have all along been subject to Rome.
Por todo ese tiempo, los reyes han sido sujetos a Roma.
Here is the coat of arms of Prince Charles.
Aquí está la fuente de escudos del príncipe Carlos.
And there at the bottom it says, Ich dien.
Y ahí abajo dice las palabras alemanas, ich dien,
I serve.
yo sirvo.
I serve whom?
¿Yo sirvo quién?
I serve the dragon.
Yo sirvo al dragón.
Because on the flag it says in Welsh, I can't even pronounce that, whatever, who cares?
Porque la bandera dice en el idioma Welsh, bueno, toda una frase,
Which means the red dragon gives the lead.
y que dice el dragón rojo abre las puertas o conduce el camino.
So these are occult organizations
Así que esas son organizaciones ocultas,
subject to the Roman papacy through the Jesuits and the Knights of Malta.
sujetas en forma última al papado romano por medio de los caballeros de Malta y la orden jesuita.
And the dragon, Rome,
Y el dragón, Roma,
gives the lead as to where we're going politically.
abre el camino y conduce para indicar la dirección donde uno tiene que ir a nivel político.
There's another emblem with the red dragon.
Aquí otro emblema de la región de Wales con el dragón rojo
And these words.
y esas palabras.
All right, here is the next prince.
Aquí está el próximo príncipe.
This is Prince Andrew. He's also a member of these organizations.
Ese es el príncipe Andrés y también es miembro de estas organizaciones.
And here's Prince William. He's also inaugurated into the Order of the Garter.
Y aquí está el príncipe Williams, que también ha sido inaugurado en la orden de la carretera.
And here is the Order of the Bath.
Y aquí está la orden del baño.
Now, not the Queen, but the Prince of Wales is the head of this order.
Pero aquí no es la reina, es el príncipe de Wales, el príncipe Carlos, que es el jefe, la cabeza de esta orden.
And all of these orders have magnificent Batman suits that they wear.
Así que todas estas órdenes tienen vestimentas fantásticas que utilizan.
Here is the Prince and the Queen in their bath robes.
Aquí está el príncipe y la reina en sus vestimentas de esta orden del baño.
Here, Reagan receives the Order of the Bath.
Aquí el expresidente Reagan recibe la orden del baño, la membresía.
Now, if you take the whole Israel vision,
Ahora, si uno toma toda esta visión de Israel, estos movimientos,
then the royal lineage of Israel will always be on the throne of the earthly kingdom.
ahora la línea real de Israel, según estas personas, siempre será sobre los tronos terrenales.
So that would include the kings of Britain and the kings of the United States.
Eso incluirá a los reyes de Inglaterra y los reyes de Estados Unidos de Norteamérica.
Because remember, all the territories of Britain were made subject to the Templars.
Porque se acordarán que todos los territorios de Gran Bretaña fueron hechos sujetos a los templarios.
Now hang on a second.
Ahora, un momento.
Surely the presidents are elected democratically and have got nothing to do with royalty.
Seguramente los presidentes vienen elegidos de manera democrática, no tienen nada que ver con la realeza.
Well, let's have a look.
Bueno, miremos acá.
Here's the Howland family chart.
Aquí es la carta de familia, el árbol genealógico de la familia Howland.
And these are all the people that belong to that same family, Howland.
Y esas personas todas pertenecen a este árbol genealógico de la familia Howland.
Joseph Smith belonged to it.
Ahora, José Smith pertenecía a esta familia.
That's the founder of the Mormons.
Ese es el fundador de los mormones, se acordarán.
His wife belonged to it.
Su esposa también pertenecía a la misma familia.
Winston Churchill was related to Joseph Smith.
Y Winston Churchill también lo encontramos que tenía las mismas raíces familiares que José Smith.
Of course, the Mormons are none other than another secret society subject to Rome because it was founded actually by De Smet, a Jesuit.
Y también los mormones, obviamente, son otra sociedad secreta sujeta a Roma porque fueron fundadas por De Smet, que era un jesuita.
Franklin Roosevelt,
Ahora, Franklin Roosevelt,
Richard Nixon,
Richard Nixon,
Ford,
Ford
and the Bushes
y toda la familia Bush, todos expresidentes,
all belong to the same
y
family.
todos pertenecen a la misma familia, raíz familiar,
They're all royals.
y son todos, tienen raíces reales.
And let's go even further.
Y vamos un paso más allá.
Here's this famous work on royalty, Burke's Peerage and Baronetage.
Aquí obra famosa sobre la realeza por Burke.
They record the genealogies of the UK and Ireland.
Y ellos han escrito acá las genealogías de Inglaterra y de Irlanda.
Well, the Bushes were related to every European monarch, both on and off the throne.
Así que la familia Bush está cercanamente relacionada con cada monarca europeo, sea que esté en el trono o sea que no tenga trono.
So should we call him Prince Bush?
Así que a lo mejor tendríamos que llamarlo Príncipe Bush.
What about the Gores?
¿Y qué hay de la familia de los Gore?
Related to Charlemagne and England's Edward I.
Están relacionados con Carlomagno y en Inglaterra Eduardo I.
So it must be Prince Gore.
Así que tiene que ser también Príncipe Gore.
And what about Prince Clinton?
¿Y qué hay de Príncipe Clinton?
He was actually born William Jefferson Blythe,
Él nació con el nombre de William Jefferson Blythe
related to King Henry III
y estaba relacionado al rey Enrique III
and King Robert I of France.
y también el rey Roberto I de Francia.
And here is the clincher.
Y aquí hay todas estas personas.
Every single president since George Washington
Cada uno de los presidentes desde George Washington
has been royal.
ha sido de lineaje real.
Every single one of them is royalty. They are literal princes.
Cada uno de ellos tiene este linaje real, son príncipes literales.
Now remember that Rome ruled through the princes of Europe.
Ahora acuérdense que Roma gobernaba por medio de los príncipes de Europa.
Do you mean to tell me that the whole of democracy is just an interpolation?
Ahora, ¿me quieren decir que todo este concepto de la democracia es simplemente una interpolación?
To keep the mindsets of the people happy while Rome is actually still ruling through the royalty, through the kings of this world?
Manteniendo las mentalidades de las gentes contentas, por mientras que Roma sigue gobernando por medio de la realeza que está sujeta a Roma.
Every single one of them is royal?
Cada uno de ellos tiene conexiones claras con la realeza.
Well, let's go on. Here's Burke's Peerage.
Pues seguimos con esta obra.
And who is this man over
¿Y
here?
quién es este hombre aquí?
Isn't that fascinating stuff?
¿No es algo fascinante?
And they're all happy family, although apparently they're in opposition to each
Y
other.
todos parecen ser una familia feliz a pesar de ser en oposición el uno con el otro.
So every presidential election in America, since and including George Washington,
Así que cada elección presidencial en los Estados Unidos, desde e incluyendo a George Washington,
has been won by the candidate with the most royal genes.
ha sido ganada por el candidato que tenía la mayoría de los genes reales.
Here's the Telegraph of the UK.
Un periódico inglés, Telegraph,
McCain and Obama share a royal lineage.
que dicen claramente que McCain y Obama, los dos tienen lineaje real.
Do you mean to tell me it's actually Prince Barack Obama?
¿Me quieren decir que es de hecho príncipe Barack Obama?
And if McCain had won, it wouldn't have made a difference because he's Prince McCain.
Y si McCain hubiese ganado, pues no hubiera hecho ninguna diferencia porque hubiera sido príncipe McCain.
They're also related to the kings of Europe.
Y también están relacionados con los reyes de Europa.
Barack Obama through his mother's side.
Barack Obama por medio de la parte de su madre.
Obama counts at least two royal ancestors, William I of Scotland and Henry II of England.
Y Obama cuenta por lo menos dos ancestres reales, Guillermo I el León, el rey de Escocia, y Enrique II de Inglaterra.
Wouldn't that be fascinating?
¿No sería eso algo fascinante?
Henry II, the one who first rebelled against Rome,
Enrique II, el primero que se rebeló en contra de Roma,
and his descendant sitting on the throne of the United States of America right now.
y su descendiente que está sentado en el trono de los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica ahora mismo.
Could he amend for the errors of his ancestor?
¿Podría él resolver o hacer pago por los errores de sus ancestros?
They're all cousins. Jimmy Carter is his seventh cousin, 3 times removed.
Son todos primos. Jimmy Carter es primo de séptimo grado.
The Bushes are his 10th cousins.
Los Bush son primos de décimo grado.
Dick Cheney is also one of his cousins.
El vicepresidente Dick Cheney también es primo de varios grados.
And Barack Obama knows this because you can listen to his speech on YouTube if you want to.
Y Barack Obama sabe sobre todo esto porque ustedes pueden escuchar sus discursos en YouTube, por ejemplo.
Where he talks about Dick Cheney as my cousin in the White House.
Donde habla sobre Dick Cheney y dice mi primo en la Casa Blanca.
These are all royals.
Esos son todos familia real.
Suddenly, when the Bible says the kings of the world will give their power unto the beast, it doesn't sound so strange
Así que
anymore.
de repente cuando la Biblia dice que los reyes de la tierra darán su poder a la bestia, ya no suena tan raro.
And now Catholic news services,
Y ahora la fuente de Nuevas Católicas,
Pope sends congratulatory message to Obama.
el Papa envía un mensaje de congratulación a Obama.
He assured him of his prayers,
Él lo aseguró de sus oraciones,
that God would help him with his high responsibilities for his country
que Dios lo ayudara para sus altas responsabilidades para su país
and for the international community.
y para la comunidad internacional.
Excuse me,
Ahora, un momento.
this is the first president in the history of the United States
Ese es el primer presidente en la historia de los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica
that gets the public blessing of the papacy.
que recibe la bendición pública por parte del papado.
We are living in fascinating times.
Estamos viviendo en tiempos fascinantes.
Now, don't get me wrong, I like Prince Obama.
Ahora, no me malentiendan, a mí me agrada el príncipe Obama.
Prince Obama is a likable fellow.
Es una persona agradable,
He's very articulate.
es una persona muy articulada
He comes across as very, very capable.
y da la impresión de ser una persona muy, muy capaz.
But that means nothing if you are subject to the papacy.
Pero eso no significa nada si uno está sujeto al papado.
Let's briefly just run through some interesting history of the United States.
Así que de manera breve echamos un bosquejo de algo de la historia de Estados Unidos de Norteamérica.
So if you look at the UK and the USA,
Ahora, si uno mira a lo que es Inglaterra en Estados Unidos de Norteamérica,
which in the papal mindset
que obviamente en el cuadro mental del papado
legally belongs to the Pope because the king subjected the crown to the papacy.
Inglaterra legalmente le pertenece al Papa porque el rey de manera legal hizo sujeta su corona al papado.
Then we'll understand why George Bush,
Entenderemos por qué George Bush
Ronald
y
Reagan,
Ronald Reagan
Norman Schwarzkopf,
y Norman Schwarzkopf
Colin Powell
y Colin Powell
are all honorable members of the Order of the Bath.
son todos miembros honorarios, caballeros de la Orden del Baño.
These are military generals.
Ahora, esos son generales militares.
What wars did they fight?
¿Qué guerras lucharon?
Didn't they go to the Middle East?
¿No fueron acaso al Medio Oriente?
And didn't the Knight of Malta Cardinal in New York,
¿Y no fue el cardenal de los Caballeros de Malta en Nueva York,
Cardinal Egan,
el cardenal Egan,
who is the Cardinal of the Armed Forces,
que es el cardenal de las Fuerzas Armadas?
bless the forces and tell them you are fighting a new crusade?
¿No bendijo él acaso las Fuerzas Armadas norteamericanas y les dijo, ustedes están luchando una nueva cruzada?
Doesn't the Bible say who can make war against the papacy?
¿No dice acaso la Biblia quién puede hacer guerra en contra de la bestia, en contra del papado?
He is using this military power to subject the world to papal rule.
Él está usando este poder militar para sujetar el mundo al gobierno papal.
Now, if you want to read some of the interesting history about the Crown Temple and the rule of Mystery Babylon,
Ahora, si uno quiere leer algo de la historia interesante sobre el templo de la corona y el gobierno de este misterio de Babilonia,
there are some fascinating historical articles.
hay algunos artículos de historia fascinantes.
One of them you can read over here on freedomwriter.com.
Y uno los puede leer aquí en este sitio web, freedomwriter.com.
Now, I'm not going to read this all to you, I'm just going to sum it up for you.
Así que les voy a dar un breve bosquejo.
Everybody believes that the United States is an independent sovereign state.
Todos creen que los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica es un estado independiente y soberano.
and that they signed the Declaration of Independence from Britain.
y que firmaron de Inglaterra la Declaración de Independencia.
But in actual fact, the signees were all crown Templars.
Pero en realidad los firmatarios, los que firmaron, eran todos templarios.
So this crown is not Britain, but the Templar crown.
Así que esa corona no es la corona que representa a Inglaterra, pero la corona de los templarios.
Now, in any legal document,
Ahora, en cada documento legal,
you cannot buy your own property.
uno no puede comprar su propia propiedad, no tiene sentido.
You cannot sign that which is legally yours over to yourself.
Uno no puede firmar algo que ya legalmente le pertenece para que otra vez le pertenezca.
But that's exactly what happened in the United States of America.
Pero eso es exactamente lo que ocurrió en los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica.
Because those who signed the Declaration of Independence
Porque los que firmaron la Declaración de Independencia
were all bar attorneys.
eran todos abogados de la Asociación de Abogados, Bar Association.
You see, the legal judiciary was controlled by the Crown Temple.
Ven, el sistema judiciario en Estados Unidos en ese entonces era controlado por el Templo de la Corona,
From the independent and sovereign city of London,
de la independiente y soberana ciudad de Londres,
where the Jesuits today control the entire economy of the world,
por donde los jesuitas hoy en día controlan la economía entera del mundo,
as they control the Federal Reserve,
y así como controlan la Reserva Federal Norteamericana,
and they control Switzerland and the Swiss banks,
y controlan la Suiza y los bancos suizos,
the United Nations,
y las Naciones Unidas,
the International Monetary Fund,
y el Fondo Monetario Internacional,
the World Trade Organizations.
y las organizaciones para el comercio mundial.
So these signees were Templar bar attorneys.
Así que estas personas que firmaron, los firmatarios, eran abogados de la asociación Bar Templaria.
They weren't independent members.
Así que no eran miembros independientes.
So in actual fact, America was fooled.
Así que los americanos fueron engañados en cierta manera.
Now the crown of Great Britain legally was then and now the Templar crown.
Así que la corona de Inglaterra legalmente era, y lo es también hoy día, la corona del templo.
And those who signed the declaration all had the letters Esquire behind their name.
Y todos los que firmaron esta declaración de independencia, todos tenían las letras Esquire, ESQR, abogados, es decir, detrás de su nombre.
What does Esquire mean?
Ahora, ¿qué significa Esquire en inglés? Abogado.
An esquire was a shield bearer.
Ahora, la palabra, de hecho, viene de la palabra de alguien que llevaba su escudo.
So he was a servant of the knight.
Y el que llevaba el escudo era un servidor del caballero.
So these people were servants of the Knights Templars.
Así que estas personas eran siervos de los caballeros templarios.
So who signed it?
Ahora, ¿quién firmó?
The crown was represented by David Hartley, Esquire.
Así que la corona era representada por David Hartley Esquire.
He was a Middle Templar of the King's Court,
Él era un templario medio de la corte del rey.
representing the United States, the Crown franchise.
Ahora, representando a los Estados Unidos,
You had John Adams, Esquire,
había Juan Adams, Esquire,
Benjamin Franklin, Esquire,
Benjamin Franklin, también Esquire, dice acá,
and John Jay, Esquire.
y también John Jay, con la misma terminación, Esquire.
So what happened here was that this Templar organization, the United States,
Así que lo que ocurrió aquí es que esta organización templaria, los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica,
was signed over by one group of Templars to another group of Templars.
fue firmada por un grupo de templarios hacia otro grupo de templarios.
And ever since then, since Washington started to rule,
Y desde ese momento, desde que Washington empezó a gobernar,
the person who always won the so-called democratic
la
election
persona que venció las así llamadas elecciones democráticas
has always been a Templar.
siempre ha sido un templario.
That makes the whole electoral system a joke.
Y eso hace que todo el sistema electoral parezca un chiste.
There is no independent United States.
No existe un Estados Unidos de Norteamérica independiente.
It is a Templar structure.
Es una estructura templaria.
So the crown, the royals, the church, and the nations are all subject to Rome.
Así que la corona, los reales, la iglesia y las naciones están todas sujetas a Roma.
Now, this is not a conspiracy theory.
Ahora, esta no es una teoría de conspiración.
This is a mere historic fact.
Esos son simplemente hechos históricos.
So whether we look at it from the side of conspiracies or whether we look at it from the side of history, we come to the same conclusion.
Así que sea que lo miremos esto del lado de las conspiraciones o del lado de la historia, llegamos a la misma conclusión.
So the Bible is correct.
La Biblia está en lo correcto.
Let's have a look.
Miremos.
The kings and the queens are subject to the papacy.
Los reyes y las reinas están sujetos al papado.
That's why when they visit the royal papacy, they always have to come dressed in black, the color of subservience.
Así que cuando visitan a la real papado, siempre van vestidos de negro, que es el símbolo de ser sujetos o servidores.
There's the young queen with one of the previous popes.
Esta es la joven reina con uno de los papas anteriores.
There she is with John Paul.
Aquí la encontramos con Juan Pablo.
Please remember, she's also the queen of the Bilderbergers.
Ahora, acuérdense que ella también es la reina de la asociación secreta de los Bilderberger.
And isn't it interesting that Barack Obama,
Y no es interesante saber que Barack Obama,
together with Hillary Clinton,
junto con Hillary Clinton,
had to attend the Bilderberger meeting during his election campaign?
tuvo que participar a la reunión de los Bilderberger durante su campaña de elección
They're
electoral.
all subject to Rome.
Y están todos sujetos a Roma.
Here the queen is with John Paul II, and there you have her husband, Prince Philip.
Aquí la reina está con Juan Pablo II y ahí su esposo, Príncipe Felipe.
Also a high Bilderberger.
También un alto miembro de los Bilderberger.
There's another picture.
Otra foto.
Here is the Princess of Wales, also dressed in black with the previous pope.
Aquí la princesa de Wales, también vestida de negro con el Papa Juan Pablo II.
Now, let's just jump to this papacy and Runcie.
Y ahora hablamos un poco del papado y de Runcie.
Remember, historically, the archbishop is subject to the Queen or the King of England.
Ahora, acuérdense que de manera histórica el arzobispo de la Iglesia de Inglaterra está sujeto al rey o la reina de Inglaterra.
But Runcie was the one that took them out of this closet.
Pero Runcie fue el que salió de este patrón.
He says, I hope to persuade the church to loosen its stays a bit.
Yo espero persuadir la iglesia que se desate un poco de esta situación.
Fascinating history.
Ok, historia fascinante.
They call him a liberal Catholic.
Lo llaman un católico liberal.
And what did he do?
¿Y qué hizo?
He signed the concordat with the papacy, making the Pope the head of the church.
Él firmó un concordato con el papado y haciendo que el papa se convirtiera en el jefe de la iglesia anglicana.
The Queen was never the head of the church.
Ahora, la iglesia nunca fue la cabeza de la reina nunca fue la cabeza de la iglesia.
She only appeared to be the head of the church for the sake of the public.
Solo aparecía ser la cabeza de la iglesia por el público.
Runcie, as well as the Queen, are subject to the crown.
Sea Runcie que la reina están sujetos a la corona.
But this crown on her head she receives only by virtue of the grace of the papacy.
Pero esa corona en su cabeza ella recibe solamente por virtud y gracia del papado.
There they sign the document that the Pope will henceforth be the head of the church, not the Queen.
Y ahí están firmando el documento que de ahora en adelante el Papa va a ser la cabeza de la iglesia anglicana y no la reina.
And there we have the proof of the pudding.
Y ahí está la prueba del hecho.
This is the next Archbishop of Canterbury, Ron Williams.
Y ese es el próximo arzobispo de Canterbury, Ron Williams.
And here he demonstrates to the world who his king and who his leader is.
Y aquí él demuestra al mundo quién es rey y quién es su líder.
There is no Protestantism in Britain.
No hay ya protestantismo en Inglaterra.
It's a sham.
Es un engaño.
It's a lie.
Es una mentira.
They're all subject to Rome.
Están todos sujetos a Roma.
He's just as subject to the present Pope as he was to the previous Pope.
Está tan sujeto al Papa presente como lo era al Papa anterior.
This comes from the Anglican official webpage.
Este viene del sitio web oficial de la Iglesia Anglicana.
And Prince Charles,
Y el príncipe Carlos
he is subject to Rome.
está sujeto a Roma.
And because we are in an ecumenical climate,
Y porque nos encontramos en un medio ambiente ecuménico,
he will be a Muslim to the Muslims.
él será un musulmán a los musulmanes.
And the Archbishop will say, well, let's accommodate them. Let's even bring Sharia law into Britain.
Y el arzobispo de la iglesia anglicana dirá, bueno, los vamos a acomodar a los musulmanes, vamos a introducir partes de la ley Sharia en Inglaterra
and we're going to blend all the religions together,
y vamos a fusionar todas las religiones juntas,
but we're all subject to Rome.
pero estamos todos sujetos a Roma.
The Knights Templars rule us.
Así que los caballeros templarios nos dominan.
Let's go to the Knights Templars in the United States.
Ahora vayamos a ver a los caballeros templarios en Estados Unidos de Norteamérica.
The head of the Knights Templars is always the Cardinal of New York,
Ahora, la cabeza de los caballeros templarios es siempre el cardenal de Nueva York.
and that's Cardinal Egan.
Y ahora, en esos momentos, es el cardenal Egan.
Who is he subject to?
¿Y a quién está sujeto él?
Of course, he's subject to the head of the Knights of Malta,
Obviamente, está sujeto a la cabeza de los caballeros de Malta.
but that also makes him subject to the Pope.
Y eso automáticamente lo hace sujeto al Papa.
So here we have Knight of Malta, Cardinal Eden, bowing down and kissing the ring of the Pope.
Así que aquí teníamos al caballero de Malta, el cardenal Egan, que se inclina ante el Papa.
This is the chain of command.
Así que esta es la cadena de poder.
Now let's see who's the head of the royalty in the United
Ahora
States.
veamos quién es la cabeza de la realeza en los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica.
If you want to be someone in the United States, you better go to Cardinal Egan.
Si alguien quiere ser alguien en Estados Unidos, mejor váyanse con el cardenal Egan.
And opposites disappear.
Y ya las facciones opuestas desaparecen.
That's just for the public consumption.
Eso de oposición y oposición es solamente para el público.
Whether you are a British Prime Minister or an American President,
Sea que uno sea un primer ministro británico o un presidente americano,
makes no difference.
no hace ninguna diferencia.
You have to be subject to the Knights of Malta.
Uno tiene que estar sujeto a los caballeros de Malta.
And so we have Prince Bush and Prince Gore subject to their boss, the Knights of Malta.
Así que tenemos al príncipe Bush y al príncipe Gore que están sujetos a su jefe, el príncipe de los caballeros de Malta.
Isn't this a fascinating picture?
¿No es esa una foto fascinante?
Prince Bush and Prince Egan,
El príncipe Bush y el príncipe Egan,
the one subject to the other.
el uno sujeto al otro.
They're all happy Templars together. Here he's shaking the hand of a Templar order.
Son todos templarios contentos los unos con los otros. Aquí está dando la mano a la orden templaria.
The princes of this world are ruling together with Rome.
Los príncipes de este mundo están gobernando juntos con Roma.
There's the previous Bush senior with Cardinal Egan.
Aquí está el Bush anterior, Bush padre, con el cardenal Egan.
The previous mayor of New York ruling with Cardinal Egan.
El alcalde, ex alcalde de Nueva York también con el cardenal Egan.
And what a happy family we have.
¿Y qué familia feliz tenemos?
Here is Prince Obama and Prince McCain
Aquí,
discussing strategy with the boss, Cardinal Egan.
aquí encontramos al príncipe Obama y al príncipe McCain que discuten estrategias con su jefe Egan.
They're not opposites, they're on the same page.
No son opuestos, están en la misma estrategia.
Here again, they're shaking hands in front of their boss, smiling upon their successes.
Aquí están dándose la mano en frente de su jefe y sonriendo sobre sus éxitos.
Isn't it incredible that here comes Prince Obama?
¿No es increíble que aquí viene el príncipe Obama
He says, change, change.
y dice cambio, cambio?
He promises one campaign promise after the other.
Y da una promesa tras promesa en su campaña.
And his first 6 months, he signs the documents
Y los primeros 6 meses él firma los documentos
where he does exactly the opposite of what he promised.
donde hace exactamente lo opuesto de lo que prometió.
It is just unbelievable.
Es algo increíble.
The agenda hasn't been changed, just the public has been misinformed.
Ahora, la agenda no ha sido cambiada, simplemente el público no ha sido bien informado.
Here you have his vice president,
Aquí ven al vicepresidente
and it's interesting to watch their hand signs.
y es interesante ver los símbolos que hacen con las manos.
Don't read too much in hand signs.
Ahora, bueno, no vean mucho en esto de los símbolos de las manos,
But when they do it all the time, it becomes interesting.
pero cuando lo hacen de manera continua se vuelve interesante.
There's another one.
Aquí está otro.
He has the same hand sign and he has it there as well.
Ahí tienen los dos símbolos de la mano con las mismas manos
And they are celebrating
y están celebrando
a split decision,
una decisión,
a Bilderberg discussion.
una discusión con los Bilderberger.
Prince Obama, the winner, Clinton takes the back seat.
Así que el príncipe Obama es el que va a vencer y Clinton va a tomar un rol secundario.
And what did Joe Biden say?
¿Y qué dijo Biden?
It's interesting to listen to what these people are saying.
Es interesante ver lo que estas personas están diciendo.
These are all high Roman Catholic officials that surround Prince Obama.
Así que todos los oficiales que están alrededor del príncipe Obama son oficiales altos católicos.
His inner core are all Council of Foreign Relations members.
Todos los que están como consejeros más cercanos son todos miembros del Concilio de Relaciones Exteriores.
And the Jesuits are his speechwriters.
Y los jesuitas son los que escriben sus discursos.
Listen to what Joe Biden has to say.
Así que escuchen lo que tiene que decir Joe Biden,
Vice President of the United
el
States.
vicepresidente corriente de los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica.
So there are going to be a lot of tough decisions Brock's going to have to make. A lot of very tough decisions, including on foreign policy. And here's the point I want to make. Mark my words. Mark my words. It will not be 6 months before the world tests Barack Obama like they did John Kennedy. The world is looking. We're about to elect a brilliant 47-year-old President of the United States of America. Remember I said standing here, you don't remember anything else I said. Watch, we're going to have an international crisis, a generated crisis, to test the mettle of this guy. And he's going to have to make some really tough, I don't know what the decision's going to be, but I promise you it will occur. As a student of history, and having served with 7 presidents, I guarantee you it's going to happen. I can give you at least 4 or 5 scenarios from where it might originate.
Mark my words.
Así que marquen, noten mis palabras.
Mark my words.
Noten mis palabras.
Every Masonic sign is in that speech.
Cada señal masona está en ese discurso.
It will not be 6 months since the world tests this president with an international generated crisis.
Y no van a pasar 6 meses hasta que este mundo va a aprobar a este presidente con una crisis a nivel internacional.
They're moving into their final agenda.
Así que se está moviendo en su agenda final.
The United States has become a police state.
Los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica se han convertido en un estado de policía.
Revelation says this power will force everyone.
Apocalipsis dice que este poder va a forzar a cada persona.
Well, then you must have this power.
Así que, pues, si es así, tiene que tener este poder, el poder para implementar.
Let's watch the Lou Dobbs show here on national television.
En televisión a nivel nacional, miremos este show de Lou Dobbs.
New questions tonight about an Army combat brigade being trained to deal with civil disturbances in the United States. The Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 generally prohibits federal uniformed services from carrying out domestic law enforcement duties, except in cases expressly authorized by the Constitution or an act of Congress. Critics say the brigade's training goes against one of the founding principles of our country, separation of military and civilian government. Luis Schiavone has our report.
They've spent 30 months on the streets of Baghdad. Now the 1st Brigade Combat Team of the Army's 3rd Infantry Division is back in the USA. The Army Times reporting, quote, they may be called upon to help with civil unrest and crowd control or to deal with potentially horrific scenarios, end quote. The question arises, why? And isn't that what the National Guard does?
Infantry brigade is designed to engage an enemy with maximum effective force and destroy it. That's not the sort of thing anybody wants to see in the streets of the United States.
Almost 5,000 strong, the brigade is based at Fort Stewart, control of Northern Command, who tells CNN, quote, the primary purpose of this force is to provide help to people in need in the aftermath of a WMD-like event in the homeland, so that were they called to support civil authority, those governors or local state jurisdictions that might need our help, that they would be responsive and capable in the aftermath of an event like this, end quote. On Capitol Hill, questions about how the Pentagon determined that a thinly stretched military with 2 conflicts underway could spare these troops.
That's a misuse of assets. Those assets can be deployed, I think, more efficiently somewhere else when you have the Guard that you can call up on a moment's notice.
Historically, the posting is unusual. In modern history, Army troops have been used at extraordinary junctures. Under the first President Bush to contain the 1992 riots in Los Angeles, under President Lyndon Johnson in response to Detroit's 1967 riots, and in the grips of a depression by President Herbert Hoover to contain Army veterans demanding their bonuses. All actions, says historian Robert Dallek, undertaken by
unpopular presidents on edge, about their capacity to lead, to invoke public support for whatever it is they think needs to be done.
Lisa, the Army Times journalist tells us that the story has generated intense public interest, and 4 weeks into a flurry of questions about the report, the Army finally contacted her, and they requested that she publish a clarification that containing domestic civil unrest was not part of the 1st Brigade mission.
Luis Schiavone, thank you very much for that report.
So it seems as though the Constitution is now being violated by these procedures.
Así que pareciera que por estos procedimientos la Constitución de Norteamérica está siendo violada.
This is precisely what the Bible said. He would speak like a dragon.
Y eso es precisamente lo que la Biblia dice, hablaría como un dragón.
And what will come next?
¿Y qué vendrá después?
You may not criticize religion.
Uno no puede criticar a la religión.
And this is not just the United States regulations, this is the United Nations regulation.
Y ahora, esta no es un reglamento de los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica, este es un reglamento de las Naciones Unidas.
So let's watch the news.
Así que miramos lo que nos dice el noticiero.
There is a major effort taking place to curb free speech in this country, irrespective of our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. And free speech advocates say the United Nations has come down on precisely the wrong side. The United Nations has adopted what it calls a resolution combating defamation of religions. The United Nations now wants to make that anti-blasphemy resolution binding on member nations, including, of course, our own. That would make it a crime in the United States if the United Nations were to have its way to criticize religion, in particular, Islam. Kelly Pilgrim has our report.
The UN General Assembly is considering a binding resolution urging member states to make it a crime to criticize Islam.
What they would do would be to make it illegal to put out a movie or write a book or a poem which somebody could say was defamatory of Islam.
The so-called anti-blasphemy resolution would call on governments to pass their own laws to determine what can be said about religion in public. The resolution urges states to provide within their respective legal and constitutional systems adequate protection against acts of hatred, discrimination, intimidation, and coercion resulting from defamation of religion. But the U.S. says the concept of defamation of religion has another meaning. While appearing in name to promote tolerance, the implementation of this concept actually fosters intolerance and has served to justify restrictions on human rights and fundamental freedoms. Even talking about the influence of Islam on terrorism could be called criminal under this resolution if adopted by an individual country.
You are entitled to say that in America, but not if the UN has its way. They would criminalize that kind of practice, and they're trying to do it elsewhere around the world.
A group of 57 Organization of Islamic Countries, the largest bloc at the United Nations, has been pushing it out of concern, it says, over anti-Islamic behavior, saying this resolution is a major step towards sensitizing the international community on the serious impact of defamation of religions. Last December, the General Assembly passed it as a non-binding resolution. And this year, a binding resolution is expected to be introduced as early as March. Human rights activists say its influence is already being felt.
There have been a number of prominent cases, most recently in India, for instance, the editor of a newspaper was charged for reprinting an article that had initially been printed in the UK.
While the article mentioned the three major religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, the editor was arrested for, quote, hurting the religious feelings of Muslims.
Now, essentially what this resolution would do is to urge countries to pass laws in their country which would be unconstitutional in the United States and basically violate the spirit of many Western judicial systems, Lou.
Yeah, a couple of questions. One is, of those 57 nations supporting this resolution, how many of them are democracies?
I couldn't tell you, but many of them are Islamic countries. Pakistan has led the charge on this and has has tabled this resolution.
So they're not democracies, and they're fascinated with their own precepts about what would constitute the way to run a nation, not like ours. Is there any discussion, or perhaps of simply, if the United Nations insists on doing this, sort of bulldozing the building, getting it out of the way, and letting them go find another place to live?
It wasn't really discussed in my my discussions today.
Well, perhaps we can raise that as an alternative to impinging on our constitutional liberties. Kitty Pilgrim, thank you very much. Appreciate it, from the United Nations. What a place. Well, joining me now with more on the UN effort to stifle free speech, to squelch it, really, is Christopher Hitchens. He's Vanity Fair columnist, author of God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. Christopher, I have to say, first, welcome. Great to have you back with us. Secondly, how dare these people attempt such a thing?
Well, first, thank you for having me back. And second, look, the claim of Islam is that it is the last and final revelation from God to humanity. That's quite a big claim to make, that you don't need another book after the Quran. You don't need any more evidence. You don't need any more argument. It's all done for you. Now, that's okay if people want to claim that. But now they want to say, if you have any difficulty with this idea, if you have any doubts about it, you're not allowed to express them. Because if you do, you are insulting us. You're making us feel hurt. Now, just imagine those two claims put together. One, a fantastic claim, and the other, a fantastic claim that you can't challenge. That is totalitarianism defined. It's a rape and butchery of the First Amendment of our Constitution.
It's also being joined, though, Christopher, by a lot of nations that are not Islamic, and there seems to be a strong move forward, and it's already, in point of fact, been approved at this level by the United Nations. I have to say that we're reaching a point in the United States where we've got a group of people who will go around clucking, saying, oh, yes, this will be just fine, irrespective of our constitutional rights, because there's some, we have Americans now. There is a movement afoot in this country for hidebound orthodoxy of all sorts of extremes, politically, religiously, in which people say, the heck with the Constitution, there are higher issues at order here.
You're quite right about that. I mean, when Salman Rushdie was sentenced to death by a senile theocrat in Iran for writing a novel, the Archbishop of Canterbury, His Holiness the Pope, certainly the Sephardic chief rabbi of Israel, and many other religious figures joined with Khomeini, not in exactly endorsing the fatwa, the death sentence, but in saying the problem was blasphemy. That they agreed with the Ayatollah to that extent. The problem was not the destruction of free speech and free expression, but the hurt feelings of the religious. This is a common problem. I mean, in Britain, there's a blasphemy law that only protects Christians, for example. It's a big source of Muslim grievance. But when you clear away all these discrepancies, there's one overwhelming thing that's happening, and it's this. There are Muslims who are prepared to use violence at the drop of a hat. If a cartoon is published in Denmark, if the Pope makes an off-the-cuff remark, a stupid one in my opinion, about Byzantium or the Crusades, they go straight to violence, but yet you cannot criticize them for being violent, lest you be accused of blasphemy.
Yeah, and well, Islam, of course, Christianity, whatever it may be, the United Nations is getting a bit burdensome, it seems to me, to anyone who's interested in freedom. Whether it be through the World Trade Organization, whether it be all sorts of institutions, organizations, ranging in issue from global warming to anti-blasphemy.
Yes.
This is becoming a totalitarian, authoritarian organization. And political correctness is really an effort to control, more seemingly to me at least, nothing more than an effort to control thought.
Nothing to do with its remit either, which is the settlement of disputes among member states by peaceful means. Of course, nothing to do with that at all. And remember, thanks to Eleanor Roosevelt, all member states or applicants for membership of the UN were not compelled, but were strongly urged to sign the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which, among other things, protects freedom of expression. And the countries that refused could still join, but remember that they were the then Soviet Union and Saudi Arabia. Those were the countries that said we would rather not have to think of universal human rights. Universal human rights exist whether religion recognizes them or not. And we have to stand up for this.
Yeah.
And we have to better start standing up for it now, I would say, against theocracy.
Right. Well, I have to say that my patience is ending primarily with the United Nations that's arrogant enough to think it should leave us subservient to its collective will. Christopher Hitchens, always good to have you here. Wish we had
Thanks
more
for
time.
having me back. Okay.
Well, we want to know what you think. Our poll question tonight is, do you believe the United Nations restriction of freedom of speech in the United States should be tolerated? Yes or no? Cast your vote at BlueDiamonds.com. We'll have the results here later. 98% of you say the United Nations restriction of freedom of speech in the United States should not be tolerated. And I'm thinking about bulldozers, but that's an addendum.
You're not allowed to criticize religion.
Así que uno ya no se le permite criticar a la religión.
So if you say something is not biblical,
Así que si uno dice que algo no es bíblico,
or you point out the unscriptural errors of the Roman Catholic system,
o uno apunta a los errores que son antibíblicos del sistema romano católico,
then you are an illegal.
pues uno se convierte en ilegal.
Now, there are web pages today that even ask the question, is Obama the Antichrist?
Ahora hay sitios web hoy en día que hasta se plantean la pregunta, ¿es Obama el anticristo?
Of course not.
Claro que no.
Just as little as Prince Charles is the Antichrist.
Así como tampoco el príncipe Carlos es el anticristo.
Prince Obama and Prince Charles are subject to the same system.
El príncipe Obama y el príncipe Carlos, los dos están sujetos al mismo sistema.
But we can watch their symbolism. It's really very interesting.
Pero podemos mirar su simbolismo porque es verdaderamente muy interesante.
This was Obama's campaign logo.
Este era el logo de la campaña de Barack Obama.
And when he accepted the nomination for the presidency of his party,
y cuando él aceptó la nominación para la candidatura de presidente por su partido,
they spared no expense on the backdrop.
Así que gastaron la plata y no le importaba cuánto para crear el escenario de fondo.
And it speaks powerfully.
Y esto nos habla a nosotros de manera potente.
This was the backdrop for his acceptance speech.
Este fue el escenario que crearon para su discurso de aceptación.
And it's none other than a replica of the temple of Zeus at Pergamos.
Y no es nada menos que la réplica del templo de Zeus o de Júpiter en Pérgamos.
In Revelation 2 verse 13,
y se acordarán que en Apocalipsis 2:13,
the provincial city of Pergamum is called the seat or the throne of Satan.
La ciudad provincial de Pérgamos viene llamada la sede o el trono de Satanás.
It was the seat of the Babylonian priesthood.
Era la sede del sacerdocio babilonio
that had fled there during Medo-Persian times.
Que se habían escapado a esa ciudad durante los tiempos del Imperio Medo-Persa.
And their titles and their vestments were bequeathed to the Roman emperor.
Y sus títulos y sus vestimentas después fueron otorgadas al emperador romano.
And they are the same that the Pope wears today.
Y son los mismos que el Papa utiliza hoy en día.
So by being inaugurated with this backdrop,
así que el presidente siendo inaugurado con este fondo,
he is subject to that system Babylon.
Está sujeto a ese sistema Babilonia.
Now there's only one other leader in world history that used this backdrop.
Ahora hay solamente otro líder a nivel de historia mundial que utilizó este escenario de fondo
at his inauguration.
En su inauguración.
And that was Adolf Hitler.
Y ese fue Adolf Hitler.
The regime that he inaugurated was fascism.
El régimen que Adolf Hitler inauguró fue el fascismo.
Having just read and seen the regulations and the laws being passed in the United States,
habiendo justamente leído y visto las leyes y las reglas que están pasando y han sido pasadas en Estados Unidos,
that's the exact same regime we have today.
Es exactamente el mismo tipo de régimen que tenemos hoy en día.
And the first thing this president did,
la primera cosa que este presidente hizo,
was to buy out the problem of Wall Street.
Fue de comprar o conquistar o anexar todo el problema que había financiero en Wall Street,
making the banking system and the corporate system subject to the government.
Haciendo que el sistema bancario y el sistema corporativo fuesen sujetos al gobierno.
Fascinating. He didn't buy them out.
Esto es fascinante. No es que simplemente los compró,
He bailed them out.
es decir, simplemente encontró una vía para que tuvieran una solución, pero el gobierno controlara.
This is not a takeover.
Así que esto no es simplemente una dádiva de poder.
This is a partnership.
Esta es una sociedad, trabajan como socios.
So the banking system,
Así que el sistema bancario,
the corporate system,
el sistema corporativo,
is now in partnership with government, even financially.
se encuentra en un estadio de sociedad con el gobierno hasta a nivel financiero.
By definition, then,
Por definición, pues,
it is a fascist state.
esto es un estado fascista.
Therefore, the backdrop.
Y es por eso que tuvieron este fondo.
The subliminal messages are fascinating.
Los mensajes subliminales son fascinantes.
That's why Obama said, I will change the world.
Y es por eso que Obama dice, yo cambiaré el mundo.
He is the man, he is the descendant of Henry II.
Él es el hombre, es el descendiente de Enrique II.
And instead of rebelling against Rome, he will make the world subject to
Y
Rome.
en vez de rebelarse en contra de Roma, él va a hacer que el mundo sea sujeto a Roma.
The pastor at his inauguration was Pastor Rick Warren,
El pastor en su inauguración fue el pastor Rick Warren,
who is also a member of the Council of Foreign Relations by his own admission.
que es también un miembro del Concilio de las Relaciones Exteriores, y él mismo lo ha admitido.
USA Today reports
El periódico norteamericano nos dice
that Warren's invocation began with a fundamental Jewish prayer.
que la invocación, es decir, la oración de Warren, empezó con una oración judía fundamental
That declares that the Lord is one.
que declara que el Señor y Dios es uno.
He also alluded to a description of God as the compassionate and
Y
merciful.
también dio alusión a una descripción de Dios como el Dios compasionado y lleno de piedad.
And that opens almost every chapter of the Quran.
Y esa descripción abre prácticamente casi capítulo del Corán.
And there was debate. Would he end in the name of Jesus or would he not?
Y había un debate, ¿es que él va a acabar en el nombre de Jesús, sí o no?
These people are brilliant.
Estas personas son brillantes.
He ended in the name of the Messianic Messiah.
Y acabó en el nombre del Mesías mesiánico,
So he called him Yeshua
y así que lo llamó Yeshua
and Jesus.
y Jesús.
But remember, Yeshua is the one who brings national deliverance and not individual deliverance.
Pero acuérdense que Yeshua es el que trae la liberación nacional y no la liberación interior espiritual.
So this is not the Messiah of the Bible.
Así que ese no es el Mesías de la Biblia.
This is the Messiah of international power and rulership within the church.
Ese es el Mesías de poder internacional y gobierno internacional dentro de la iglesia.
Henry Kissinger, who is a Bilderberger himself,
Henry Kissinger, que es miembro de los Bilderberger también,
states that Obama has surrounded himself with an extraordinary team
que Obama se ha acercado, tiene a su alrededor un equipo de personas extraordinarias.
They are all Council of Foreign Relations and Jesuits.
Son todos o jesuitas o miembros del Concilio de las Relaciones Exteriores.
And that he has this opportunity of bringing about this new world order.
Y que tiene esta oportunidad de introducir esta nueva orden mundial.
Let's listen to him.
Escuchémoslo.
About an overall peace settlement.
What do you think the most important thing is for Barack Obama? Obviously, you're here to talk about the anniversary for U.S.-China diplomatic relations, but if you had to say this is going to be the country or the conflict or the place that will define the Obama administration, what would it be?
The president-elect is coming into office at a moment when there are upheavals in many parts of the world simultaneously. You have India, Pakistan, you have the jihadist movement. So he can't really say there is one problem that is the most important one. But he can give a new impetus to American foreign policy, partly because the reception of him is so extraordinary around the world. I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't just a crisis.
Are you confident about the people President-elect Obama has chosen to surround him? Because he does not have a great deal of experience.
No, he has appointed an extraordinarily able group of people in both the international and financial field.
He'll bring about a new world order.
Así que va a introducir una nueva orden mundial.
And he has this extraordinary team.
Y tiene este equipo de personas, de consejeros extraordinarios.
Time Magazine, Obama's New World Order.
Este otro periódico, Time, la nueva orden mundial de Obama.
This is his blog page.
Así que esta es su página de blog.
And I'm just interested to see what it says there. He didn't write it, but he didn't take it off the blog either.
Yo estoy interesado en ver lo que está escrito aquí. No es que él lo escribió, pero él tampoco dijo que se quitara.
Talking about change in the last 100 years.
Hablando sobre los cambios en los últimos 100 años.
And the reclining of Sunday laws.
Y el rebajón de lo que son las leyes dominicales, dice ahí.
And then the statement, perhaps we should consider enacting a Sunday law.
Y después esa frase que dice, a lo mejor tendríamos que considerar otra vez implementar una ley dominical.
Not to restrict people from working.
No para restringir a las personas de que no trabajen.
But to give liberty to those who can't choose.
Pero para dar la libertad a los que no pueden escoger.
Oh, there's some interesting idea planting here.
Así que aquí hay algunas ideas interesantes, semillas que se están plantando.
China calls for a new reserve currency.
China llama para que se haga una nueva moneda de reserva.
In the New World Order, the United States will have to merge in with the rest.
En la nueva orden mundial, los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica se tendrán que fusionar con el resto del mundo.
So we need a new currency in the world.
Así que necesitamos una nueva moneda en el mundo.
And of course he has signed some very interesting treaties.
Así que han firmado unos tratados muy interesantes.